have found the Genesis frequency. This is Dr. Stephen J. Kosmyna welcoming you in to another episode of a show that focuses on your whole life prosperity and success. Whole life prosperity and success by cooperating with the universal laws that are available to each and every one of us. This is Quantum Leap Goal Achievement, radical personal transformation, whole life prosperity and success. Now, stay tuned for another exciting episode that'll move the needle in your life from where you are now to where you want to be. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it may be, wherever you are in the world. When you hit that play button, so glad you did. Welcome into another episode of the Genesis Frequency with Dr. Cause and Effect, Dr. Stephen J. Kosmyna coming at you. That's me, by the way. And hey, let's dive right in today. This show is all about personal, professional leadership development and just improving ourselves, right? It starts with ourselves. If we want to be leaders of other people, if we want to be leaders of our organization, it starts with being a leader of our own lives. What is a life we are leading, right? So it starts with personal development. Everything starts with personal development and making a choice that, hey, I want to do better today than I did yesterday. You can be as simple as that. And I have dedicated my life to personal and professional development, improving me day in and day out. Hey, am I better today? Did I do better today than I did yesterday? Because you know what? I feel better when I do. It's all about feeling good about what you have done, what you have accomplished, what you have achieved, reaching your goals. Remember, our definition of goals is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. And it's all about the whole process of becoming. We talk about be, do, and have, but it's about being. And so, it applies to every area of our lives. That's why I say personal and professional development, leadership development, because it starts with us. So we have to develop ourselves personally, but we have to look at the total person concept, which is looking at all the different areas of our lives. So the last couple episodes, I was talking about denials and how they go along with affirmations. And so we're going to move on from that. I think we kind of beat that up pretty good. And I think it's a couple of good episodes. You might want to go back and look and have a listen, I should say, to those episodes to see what you can take out of there that's going to help you. This is all about tools, taking the tools, apprehending the tools that I share with you in this show, finding the value in them and how they work in your life. What is it? My goal is to identify what is it? What is it that I'm going to talk about today? How does it work? And what will it do for you? So those are my three objectives. I don't always know what I'm going to talk about when I hit that record button, but today I got on a bit of a roll. I wrote down a couple things. I knew I wanted to talk about application and action. It's not enough just to listen. Just like I often say, it's not enough really anymore to read a book. We should we should study those books, and then we should move into a state of application and action. So it's all about the application and action. We can read all day long. We can read a book about driving a car, but we can read a book about driving a car. It doesn't get us to our destination, right? Say we don't know how to drive and we don't have a driver's license, but we live on the East Coast and we want to go to the West Coast. We can read books all day long about how to drive a car and navigating the route. And we can look at maps and read all those things. But just reading that book about driving, reading all the maps does not get us to our objective, to our destination, which is the West Coast, right? And I think that's a really good analogy for talking about what we want to experience in our lives. What do we want to achieve? And so I'm going to we're going to go down a list of things today to help you remember this. Because if we want to apply it in our lives, we have to, take some action, but we have to remember what is it that, we want to apply. All right. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about educate, evaluate, navigate, dedicate, motivate, celebrate, appreciate, calculate, all these things that end in AT. I don't know. I just got on a roll, but it'll help you when we use words, when we use the language, when we communicate with other people and with ourselves. We have to find those keys that will help to unlock the subconscious mind to move into a state of remembering with clarity. Because when we remember, we move throughout our day and we recall what we were studying so we can apply it, so we can take action on those things that made sense in our lives. So let's start talking about some of these things today. I don't know how far we'll get, but we'll keep this going for a little bit and maybe, hey, maybe share some things that work for you, some tools, and we can talk about those in a future episode. But when we're talking about application and action, applying what we learn in and around personal development, professional development, leadership development, spiritual development, whatever that is, we have a process that we want to go through. So what do we do? How do I apply this? Okay, well, for the first step, obviously, is you're listening to this. It's the educate part. It's the educate piece of the pie. I want to educate myself. I want to learn as much as I can. So we really kind of already talked about that. You hit that play button, you are participating. Participate, there's another one. You are participating in the education process of yourself. You're getting educated about things that have worked for other people, things that are part of law, the laws of infinite potential, the laws of creating what you want to create in your life. So you're educating yourself about all of this, right? The next thing you want to do is well, first of all, you want to realize that the educate part of it is an ongoing process that you're always going to be involved in. We always, you probably have a thirst for learning just because you're listening to this show, but we have to realize that we want to always educate ourselves, whether it's reading or listening or applying or studying, however we do that, whatever works for us, we want to be in a constant state of educating ourselves. Personal and professional development. That's always got to be a piece of the pie. Then we want to evaluate, educate, evaluate. And when we evaluate, and I use the word evaluate because we don't want to do this with, a whole bunch of criticism. We want to evaluate where we are and where we want to go. Let's go back to the reading the book about driving. I'm on the East Coast. I want to go to the West Coast. So we want to evaluate, where am I right now? Well, I'm on the East Coast somewhere. Well, let's get specific. Where are on the East Coast are you? Because you have to know your starting point, right? Because as we move along to the West Coast, we want to calculate. There's another one, calculate. Got to write that one down. We want to calculate our progress. So we want to spend some time evaluating, hey, where am I now? Where am I now? What has worked? What has gotten me to this point where I am? Good, bad, or just neutral, and not overly critical. Just evaluate, where am I now and where do I want to go? Where am I now? Where do I want to go? We're going to do some evaluations, and we want to look at, this whole process is about being the total person. So we want to look at every area of our lives. If we look at this as a wheel, and I've shared this many times, we have the area of finance and career, our vocation, time and money, freedom, all that stuff. Mental and educational. We already talked about educate. How about our health and physical fitness, our social and cultural areas of our lives, spiritual and ethical growth in that area, and our family and our home life. And then, of course, our legacy and what we want to leave behind. And in this is all what we want for us. What is the life we would love to live? What is the life we would love to lead as we look at all these different areas? If you put this like on a pie chart in a circle, you would probably notice that one area of this wheel maybe a little flat, maybe more than one area. We know a lot of people that are great professionally. Man, they are the leader. They're the top of the heap, the CEO, whatever. They accomplish their goals professionally in their vocation, but maybe some of those areas are pretty flat. Maybe their family and home life is just it's a flat. So if you're going to turn this wheel, right, you're going to bump, bump, bump. It's you got a flat. You got to look at those areas. So that's what we do in the evaluation process. So we educate, we evaluate, and then we begin to navigate, right? We're navigating the obstacles that come up. Maybe we identified, where do we want to go? We want to go to the West Coast. We educate ourselves all the time, right? We're looking at the map. Where are we? Okay, I made some progress. So we're doing these things that I'm talking about, we're doing all the time. I'm educating myself. I'm evaluating, where am I? Where's the progress? How much progress did I make? So we stop for the day. We look at the map. Okay, I'm heading to the West Coast. I'm evaluating how much progress I made. I did good, or I can do better, or I'm happy with my progress. So then we determine, what do we have to navigate? We have to navigate challenges in our lives. Maybe we have to learn a skill that we don't have. Maybe there's a big problem, that, hey, I want to get to the West Coast, but I got to figure out, I got to pay for gas. I got to find a place to stay. So we're navigating all these challenges and obstacles. Usually when we look at the challenge, we can find the opposite of that, build an affirmation around it, and go around it, navigate, course correct, find a way through that challenge, solving the problem, whatever it is. So we're constantly doing all these things. Remember, we're talking about application and action here, and I'm sharing with you some words that will help you remember what the process is all about. And these are things we're doing all the time. This is not necessarily a step by step. Okay, first I have to educate myself, then I have to evaluate where I am, then I have to navigate. We're doing this all the time. Remember, we're talking about a progressive realization of a worthy ideal, of our objectives, of our goals, and our dreams, and our desires, and our aspirations for what we want for ourselves in all these areas of our lives, personally and professionally. So we educate, evaluate, we navigate. How about dedicate? Are you dedicated? Yeah, I'm going to the West Coast. I'm getting there. That's the prize. That's the pot of gold somewhere over my rainbow. I am dedicated to this. I'm not going to participate one day. There's another word for you. I'm not going to participate one day and not apply or take any action the next day. It's consistent daily action, consistent daily activity, moving us closer and closer. Even if we just went a few more miles the next day, because maybe we had some other things to do, or we wanted to stop and see somebody, but we're making progress to the West Coast, we're still participating, right? We're still moving in the direction because we're dedicated to getting there. So this all is about finding the right goals that you want to achieve in all these areas of our lives. If we have identified those properly, if we identify the why do we want it, that will help us when we get to the word motivate, right? So we know why, so we dedicate ourselves to the achievement of all these things in every area of our lives. And all along the way, we want to do a couple things as well. We want to celebrate. We want to celebrate our wins. Hey, I just went a couple miles today, but you know what? I wasn't feeling good. I stopped. I got on the phone call. I ate too much at lunch. I got tired, but I made a few miles into my destination, my goal, my dream, my West Coast destination, right? So I'm going to celebrate that. I'm going to mark that down as a win. Yeah, could I do a little bit better? But yeah, I did. I stayed dedicated. I I navigated what I needed to navigate. I was listening to audios along the way, so I participated in the education part. I evaluated my progress here at the end of the day, and I'm celebrating it. I'm celebrating my wins every day. All right. So I'm using this comparison here, but That's what we have to do in life at the end of the day. I have a little thing in my planner. It says, "Hey, do better, feel better." Because I do. When I do better than I did yesterday, I feel really, really good. So I'm always looking, I'm always going back to that evaluate, and then I'm going to celebrate the wins. You know what? Sometimes I don't pay attention to the check marks of, hey, I got that done, got that done, achieve that. I'm paying attention to, if I'm on the wrong side of the coin, or I don't want to say wrong, but if I'm looking at it through the lens, the negative lens, or the glass half empty, I'm saying, oh, I didn't get that done, or I didn't get that done, and I'm moving into that critical nature of how I'm looking at my day. I want to evaluate. This is a good example here, but I don't want to be too critical. I didn't get those things done, but hey, let's flip this over. Let's celebrate all the things you did get done, right? So we want to make that celebration part of everything because we'll look forward to it and maybe find different ways you can celebrate. I don't mean throwing a party and having friends over just because you got 8 out of the 10 things done on your to-do list. But there's different ways that we can celebrate. We push back. Maybe, we move into our quiet time and spend a little bit more time there, just taking it all in, or whatever it is. Just little things to celebrate our wins day in and day out. And don't forget, appreciate, appreciate, give thanks every single day. One way to celebrate is to appreciate the wins that you did do, that you did achieve, that you did realize. So many times we get those things done. We're looking at what we didn't get done. We're maybe looking through that negative lens. We're beat up by the end of the day. We're tired and we're, I didn't do that. I didn't do that. Before we start beating ourselves up, let's celebrate, but let's do that by appreciating what we did do. Let's give thanks. Let's just get in the habit of giving thanks for everything in our lives, especially when we're looking at those different areas in our lives, when we're looking at the total person, right? When we're looking at our lives spiritually, socially, physically, and with our family, financially, mentally. Let's give thanks. What do I have to celebrate this day? And this is, again, an ongoing process. A couple other words that you can move into help you remember is abdicate and eliminate. You want to abdicate ego being on the top of the hill all the time. You want to move it to that center space that's just neutral, that knows, that has a connection with your essence. You want to live from this purity, this inner strength and inner power, this source of all that is your source of wisdom, inspiration, and guidance that lives within you. So you want the ego part to abdicate the throne that it thinks it has, and you want to eliminate. That's what we talked about when we talked about denials in the last couple episodes. You want to eliminate those error thoughts, the error thinking, those times in the day when maybe you're starting to drag down a little bit, maybe you're starting to get a little bit tired, and you start to have thoughts of the critical nature of, I can't do this. I don't want to do that. I don't, oh, I'll never get that. When that voice starts, when that monkey chatter starts, you want to eliminate that right away. Go back and listen to the last 2 episodes on denials for how we do that properly. But those are more words to help you remember that it's all about applying and taking action of all these things you educate yourself about. So, what did we do so far today? We're going to talk more about these things because I'm sure I'm going to come up with more words. And maybe some will be sent in, or maybe you'll get on a call with me. Hey, I encourage you to do that. Successappointment.com. All one word is my calendar. We can talk about where you are. We can evaluate where you are. We can navigate around some of the obstacles you see in your life. And we can motivate you to move in the direction of of the goals and the dreams that you set for yourself personally and professionally by laying out a plan. So I love having conversations with my listener. But let's look at what we talked about today. We're talking about application and action around the things that we learn. Where do we learn them? Well, we participate in the educate process. We educate, we evaluate. We evaluate where we are. We navigate. We're making that plan. How am I going to get around? We look at the map. How am I going to get around this obstacle? There's some road construction around there, right? So we pull out the map. We navigate around this challenge. Okay. We find the side roads and the highways and the byways that go around this obstacle. So we navigate. We dedicate. We're always doing that. I'm dedicated to my goal. I'm getting in that car. I'm going to the West Coast. I dedicate myself to the pursuit of my worthy ideal. I celebrate my wins. I appreciate everything I'm learning along the way, everything I'm experiencing along the way. I'm appreciating the highs and the lows. Those times I had to zig when I thought I was going to zag, those times that I didn't really want to experience what I experienced, but I found the good in that. I'm always looking at the good in that. I found that I was able to calculate, to even collaborate, with members on my team. If we're talking about this in a corporate environment, that's another word, collaborate. So educate. I want to integrate all these things I'm talking about. I want to incorporate all these things I'm talking about. I want to break it down, my trip to the West Coast or my big dreams and goals. I want to break it down into bite-sized pieces so I orchestrate the process that I'm going to do. I work my plan. I develop a plan. I plan my work and I work my plan. So all these things help to keep me in that state of motivate. I want to constantly motivate myself. And I want to circulate. I want to share this. I want to share this show. I want to share my wins. I want to share what I learn with everybody around me, with my entire team. I want to see other people accomplish what they want to accomplish in their lives. So there you have it. Educate, integrate, incorporate, abdicate, eliminate, evaluate, calculate, orchestrate, navigate, dedicate, motivate, appreciate, celebrate, circulate. And the list goes on. I'm sure we'll add to it as I move on into the next show. For now, that's all the time we have for today. Hey, I encourage you to reach out. Let's have a conversation about your goal achievement or within your company. Love focusing on corporate training lately. If you recall, Success Ocean, my company, has formed an alliance, a partnership. We are franchise partners with Leadership Management International, just in 2023 ranked as the #1 training franchise in the world by Entrepreneur Magazine. Over 60 countries, over 27 different languages now. So reach out. Let's have a conversation of improving performance and productivity and priority management within your company. Some of the things that are going on when I share some stats and statistics with you would just astound you. Or if you just want to work on something personally, we have a showcase, an open enrollment coming up with a couple programs. Let's have a conversation about that. Or if you want to get involved in the world of personal and professional development and perhaps make it a career and testing the waters that way. Let's have a conversation. Successappointment.com. We can talk about all those things. And we'll talk about all those things and more on the next episode of the Genesis Frequency. That's what you've been listening to, a podcast around personal, professional, and leadership development. Again, the Genesis Frequency. And this is Dr. Cause and Effect, Dr. Stephen J. Kosmyna, wishing you an infinitely spectacular day. See you next time. God bless.